I stood at the counter of Riverside Trust Bank, clutching a card so worn it looked like it belonged in another century. My fingers trembled as I slid it across the polished surface toward the banker. The plastic was scratched, faded, and almost embarrassing to present. "Sir, I know this is unusual," I said quietly. "It's very old. My father gave it to me decades ago. I just want to see if there's anything left on it. Maybe a few dollars. Before I tell you what happened next, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what time it is where you are watching from. It helps more than you know." The banker, a man in his 60s with silver hair and a name tag that read Mr. Dalton, gave me a polite smile. He looked like he had been working in this building longer than I had been alive. "No trouble at all," he said kindly. "Let's take a look." He examined the card, turning it over twice, then slid it through the reader. I expected him to tell me the account was closed or unreadable. Instead, his face drained of color. His eyes widened behind his glasses and his mouth parted slightly. He looked at the screen, then at me, then back again. "Sir," he said, his voice cracking. He cleared his throat and tried again. "Sir, I need you to step behind the counter with me right now." My heart dropped. "Why? Is something wrong?" "Please," he said, almost pleading. "Just come with me." Two security guards appeared, moving quickly toward us. My stomach twisted. I hadn't done anything wrong. Was this card stolen? Had my father been involved in something illegal? Mr. Dalton guided me through a side door marked private. My legs felt weak as we walked down a narrow hallway. The guards followed close behind. I wondered if they were about to arrest me. Inside a small office, Mr. Dalton gestured for me to sit. He typed furiously at his computer, his expression unreadable. Not anger, not suspicion, but something closer to disbelief. "Sir, I need to verify your identity," he said tightly. "May I see your driver's license?" My hands shook as I pulled out my wallet. I handed him the license. He studied it carefully, comparing the name to something on his screen. Then he asked me questions. My mother's maiden name, my date of birth, my father's full name. I answered each one, my voice barely above a whisper. But before I explain what Mr. Dalton showed me on that screen, let me tell you how I ended up here. 52 years old, divorced, and standing in a bank with nothing but an old card from my father. 3 days earlier, I had been standing outside what used to be my home. A modest but beautiful house with brick walls and a garden I had tended myself. I had spent 20 years there, believing I was building a life with someone who loved me. My ex-wife, Marissa, stood in the doorway, arms crossed. Behind her, I saw him. Daniel, her business partner, the man she had been smiling with at dinners while secretly dismantling our marriage. He was already touching the curtains I had chosen, already making himself comfortable in my space. "Marcus, you need to leave now," Marissa said coldly, as if speaking to a stranger. "The lawyers made everything clear. The house is in my name. The accounts are in my name. You signed the papers, it's done. But I don't have anywhere to go," I said, hating how small my voice sounded. "Marissa, please. We were married for 20 years. I gave up my career for you. I supported your business. And I gave you 20 years of stability," she interrupted. "We're even. Now go." Daniel stepped closer, wrapping his arm around her waist. He looked at me with smug pity. "It's really for the best, Marcus. People grow apart." I wanted to shout, to fight, but I was exhausted. Months of lawyers, months of betrayal had drained me. I picked up my single suitcase, one suitcase to hold 20 years of my life, and walked away. I had $45 in my wallet. That was it. Everything else was gone. I found a cheap motel on the edge of town. The carpet was stained, the air smelled of cigarettes, and the walls were thin enough to hear arguments from the next room. On the second night, unable to sleep, I rummaged through my suitcase. That's when I found the envelope. Yellowed with age, tucked inside the lining of an old jacket. On the front, in my father's handwriting, "For my son Marcus, when the world gets hard." My father had died when I was 19. He had been a janitor, fixing broken pipes and sweeping hallways in a downtown building. He never had much money. He wore patched boots and walked everywhere to save bus fare. Inside the envelope was the card, the same one I had handed to Mr. Dalton. Alongside it, a note: "Keep this safe. Use it when you truly need it. Love, Dad." I had forgotten about it for decades. Through college, through marriage, through raising children, it had simply traveled with me, buried in old belongings. I figured there might be $50 on it, maybe 100. Enough for a few nights in that motel. The next morning, desperate and hungry, I walked into Riverside Trust Bank. And that's where everything began to change. What Mr. Dalton showed me on that computer screen didn't just change my day, it changed the course of my entire life. Mr. Dalton turned the computer screen toward me. "Please look at this carefully," he said. I leaned forward, expecting to see a small balance. Maybe $50, maybe 100. Instead, my eyes locked on a number so large my brain refused to process it. I counted the digits once, then again, then a third time. "That can't be right," I whispered. "You must have made a mistake." "There's no mistake," Mr. Dalton said gently. "I've checked 3 times. My supervisor checked as well. The account is real and it belongs to you." The balance read $49 million. The room tilted sideways. I gripped the edge of the desk to steady myself. One of the guards stepped forward, worried I might faint. "Sir, breathe," Mr. Dalton said, sliding a glass of water toward me. "I know this is overwhelming." Overwhelming didn't even begin to describe it. My father had been a janitor. We had lived modestly, eating pasta most nights, patching shoes with tape, walking instead of taking the bus. He had never spoken of wealth, never hinted at anything like this. "Your father was a careful man," Mr. Dalton explained. He pulled up another screen. "Decades ago, he inherited a small plot of land from his uncle. It was in a part of the city no one wanted back then. Warehouses, factories, nothing special. A developer approached him wanting to buy it. Instead of taking a one-time payment, your father negotiated a contract. He would receive 5% of all future profits from anything built on that land." I blinked at him. 5%? Yes. At the time, the developer thought it would amount to very little, but they built the Crescent Towers complex, offices, luxury apartments, high-end shops. It transformed the entire district, and for more than 20 years, 5% of the profits have been deposited into a trust account. An account set to transfer to you when you turned 18. I sat back, stunned. "But I'm 52. Why didn't I know about this?" Mr. Dalton scrolled through records. "The bank sent notification letters when you turned 18, but they went to your father's old address. You had already moved. The letters were returned as undeliverable. The account remained dormant, accumulating interest. For 34 years, it has been waiting for you." I rubbed my temples, trying to make sense of it. If my father had this arrangement, why did he keep working? Why did we live the way we did? "I can't answer that," Mr. Dalton said softly. "But from what I see, your father never touched the money. Not once. Every deposit went straight into the trust. He structured it so that no one could access it except you. Not creditors, not family members, and certainly not a spouse." The word spouse hit me like cold water. My ex-wife, Marissa. She had taken everything in the divorce, the house, the accounts, the cars. But this? She couldn't touch it. "You're saying she has no claim to this?" I asked. "Exactly. The trust was designed carefully. It is yours alone. Under law, it cannot be considered a marital asset. Your ex-wife has no legal right to it." Relief washed over me, but it was mixed with anger. Marissa had thrown me out with nothing, believing she had stripped me bare. She had no idea my father had left me a fortune. Mr. Dalton's expression grew serious. "Sir, I need to tell you something else. 3 months ago, someone made an inquiry about this account. They used your name and social security number, but it wasn't you. We denied the request and flagged the account." My stomach twisted. 3 months ago. That was right before Marissa filed for divorce. "I can't speculate," Mr. Dalton said carefully. "But whoever made that inquiry was trying to find assets in your name. They suspected something existed. I remembered seeing charges on our joint credit card for a private investigator. Marissa had claimed it was for business, but she had been investigating me, searching for hidden wealth. She must have discovered the land sale, the profit-sharing agreement. She couldn't access the trust, but she knew something was there. That explained her cruelty, her urgency to finalize the divorce. She wanted me desperate, broken, too defeated to ever think to look for this." I sat in silence, the weight of it pressing down on me. My father had lived in patched boots, fixing pipes for neighbors, all while millions accumulated in a bank. He had sacrificed comfort so I could have freedom. Mr. Dalton slid a business card across the desk. You need a lawyer. A good one. If your ex-wife learns about this, she may try to challenge the divorce settlement. She has no legal claim, but people do strange things when this much money is involved. Call this man today. Tell him I referred you. I picked up the card with numb fingers. The name printed in bold letters was Jonathan Reeves, trust and estate attorney. As I left the bank through a private exit, the city looked different. The streets, the buildings, the people rushing past, all of it seemed unreal. I had walked in hungry, broke, and defeated. I walked out with a secret that could change everything. What I didn't know was that Marissa was already plotting her next move, and she wasn't alone. I left Riverside Trust Bank with Mr. Dalton's business card burning a hole in my pocket. The city felt different as I walked. Brighter, louder, yet strangely distant, like I was moving through a dream. I had gone in, broke, defeated, and walked out with knowledge that could change everything. But I wasn't naive. I knew Marissa. I knew her hunger for control. If she had already hired a private investigator, she wouldn't stop now. That afternoon, I called the number Mr. Dalton had given me. Jonathan Reeves, the attorney, answered with a calm, steady voice. He agreed to meet me immediately. His office was in a tall glass building downtown, the kind of place I had always felt too small to enter. But now, I walked through the lobby with a strange sense of belonging. Jonathan was younger than I expected, maybe in his early 40s, sharp-eyed and deliberate. He listened as I told him everything. The divorce, the bank, the trust, the inquiry 3 months earlier. He didn't interrupt, just scribbled notes on a yellow legal pad. When I finished, he leaned back in his chair. Marcus, I need to be honest with you. Based on what you've told me, I believe your ex-wife suspected this account existed. She couldn't claim it legally, but she tried to strip you of everything else so you'd be too broken to fight back. I swallowed hard. But she can't touch it, right? No, Jonathan said firmly. The trust is airtight. It was designed to protect you. She has no legal claim. But that doesn't mean she won't try. People do irrational things when this much money is involved. He made a quick call to his team, asking them to pull property records, investigator reports, and court filings. Within an hour, they had pieced together a disturbing picture. Marissa's lawyer had traced my father's name, found the land sale, and discovered the profit-sharing agreement. They knew money was flowing somewhere. What they couldn't find was where. Jonathan tapped his pen against the desk. Your ex-wife filed for divorce knowing you might have access to significant funds. She couldn't claim it, but she wanted to leave you desperate. If you had discovered the money while still emotionally tied to her, you might have offered to share out of guilt or obligation. The cruelty of it made me sick. Marissa hadn't just wanted to end our marriage. She had wanted to destroy me first, to break me down so completely that I'd hand her what she couldn't legally take. Jonathan leaned forward. But she underestimated you. She thought you'd find the account quickly while still vulnerable. Instead, you found it now. With legal protection, that changes everything. I nodded slowly, though my chest felt heavy. What do I do now? First, we secure your assets, Jonathan said. We'll set up a new account at a different bank, arrange financial advisors, and establish a security team. Second, we prepare for the inevitable. Word will spread. Your ex-wife, your family, acquaintances, they'll all come knocking. You need privacy, protection, and time to think. By evening, Jonathan had arranged for me to stay at a discreet hotel under a false name. The suite was luxurious, with marble floors and a view of the city skyline. It should have felt like triumph, but instead it felt like exile. On the third morning, my phone rang. The number was blocked. Against my better judgment, I answered. Marcus! Marissa's voice snapped through the line. We need to talk. I froze. How did you get this number? You think you can hide from me? She said, her tone sharp. That money should be ours. We built a life together. You don't get to keep it all. It's not yours, I said quietly. It was never yours. Her voice rose. Don't be foolish. You can't fight me. I'll sue. I'll drag you through court until you're ruined. I hung up before she could say more. My hands shook as I set the phone down. She knew. Somehow she had already heard. That evening, Jonathan came to the hotel with more documents. He spread them across the table. Marcus, you need to understand something. You now have the power to destroy Marissa financially. Her company is leveraged, drowning in debt. If you wanted to, you could buy out her creditors and foreclose on everything she owns. You could leave her with nothing, just like she tried to do to you. I stared at the papers. Cold numbers, projections, strategies for dismantling her empire. Part of me wanted it. Part of me wanted to watch her lose everything, to see her standing on the sidewalk with one suitcase just as I had. But another part of me remembered my father. A man who had millions accumulating in a bank but chose to live humbly, fixing pipes for neighbors, walking in patched boots, never touching the fortune meant for me. Jonathan watched me carefully. Marcus, revenge is tempting, but it's not your only option. I pushed the papers away. I don't know what I want yet, but I know I don't want to become like her. I thought the hardest battle would be with Marissa. I was wrong. My own family was about to turn against me. I thought the storm would come only from Marissa. I was wrong. On the fourth evening at the hotel, my phone lit up with a number I hadn't seen in years. It was my younger brother, Stephen. We hadn't spoken in nearly a decade, not since a bitter argument over our father's choices. Against my better judgment, I answered. Marcus, his voice was tight, almost rehearsed. We need to talk about Dad's money. My chest tightened. How did you even hear about it? He gave a short, humorless laugh. It's all over town. People are saying you're sitting on millions while the rest of us scrape by. You think you deserve it all because you were Dad's favorite? I closed my eyes. Stephen, Dad set up the trust for me specifically. He made that choice. Because you were weak, Stephen snapped. Because you always needed protecting. Meanwhile, I worked 2 jobs, built my own life, and now you get rewarded for being the fragile one. His words cut deeper than I expected. I didn't ask for this, I said quietly. But you're keeping it, aren't you? His voice rose. You're not going to share with your own brother. You're selfish, Marcus. Greedy. I listened until I couldn't anymore and then hung up. He called back 3 more times. I blocked his number. That night I sat alone in the hotel suite. The city lights glittered outside the window, but they felt cold, distant. I had wealth beyond imagination, yet I had never felt more isolated. My ex-wife wanted to sue me, my brother wanted to shame me, and acquaintances I hadn't spoken to in years were suddenly reaching out with forced smiles and hidden agendas. Jonathan Reeves visited the next morning. He carried a folder thick with documents. Marcus, you need to understand something, he said, laying the papers on the table. Your father's trust is airtight, but that doesn't mean people won't try to challenge it. Your ex-wife, your brother, even distant relatives, they'll all claim entitlement. We need to prepare. I rubbed my temples. I don't want to spend the rest of my life fighting lawsuits. Jonathan nodded. Then we need to be proactive. We'll establish a foundation, a legal shield. It will not only protect your assets, but also define your purpose. Right now, you're reacting to everyone else. It's time to decide what you want to build. His words lingered with me. For weeks I had been running. From Marissa, from Stephen, from the whispers of the city. I hadn't stopped to ask myself what I wanted. That afternoon I walked through the city streets trying to clear my head. It was daytime, bright and bustling, but I felt invisible among the crowds. I passed a small park where children played, their laughter carrying on the wind. For a moment I envied them. Their worries were simple, their joy untainted. I thought about my father, a man who had millions accumulating in a bank but chose to live humbly, fixing pipes for neighbors, walking in patched boots, never touching the fortune meant for me. He had sacrificed comfort so I could have freedom. Maybe freedom wasn't about revenge. Maybe it was about choice. That evening I sat with Jonathan and told him my decision. I don't want to destroy Marissa. I don't want to fight Stephen. I want to help people, so people like me, men and women who get thrown away after divorce, left with nothing. Jonathan's eyes softened. Then let's build something that lasts. We began drafting plans for a foundation. We called it New Horizons. Its purpose was simple: to provide housing, job training, and legal assistance for those abandoned and financially devastated after divorce. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark of hope. This wasn't just about money, it was about meaning. But as we worked late into the night, my phone buzzed with a new message. No caller ID. Just a single line. I know where you're staying. We should meet. You owe me. It was Marissa. I thought I had secured my freedom, but Marissa wasn't finished, and then this time she came in person. The message on my phone was short, but it carried the weight of a threat. I know where you're staying. We should meet. You owe me. It was Marissa. I showed the text to Jonathan Reeves. He immediately contacted hotel security and the police. They said it wasn't technically a threat, but they documented it. Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that she was closing in. The next morning, as sunlight poured through the tall windows of the hotel suite, there was a knock at the door. My heart pounded. I looked through the peephole and saw her. Marissa, dressed in an expensive suit, her face flushed with anger. "Marcus," she called through the door. "Open up. We need to talk." I hesitated, then stepped back. Within minutes, 2 hotel security guards arrived. They escorted her away, but not before she shouted down the hallway, "That money was earned during our marriage. I have rights." Her voice echoed long after she was gone. Jonathan came later that day carrying another folder. "Marcus, she's not going to stop. She's already hired 3 different lawyers. Each one is threatening to file lawsuits. They'll try every angle. Mental competency of your father, marital assets, even fraud. None of it will hold, but it will drain you if you're not prepared." I sat heavily on the couch. She took everything from me once. Now she wants more. Why can't she just let go? Jonathan's expression was calm but firm. "Because she's desperate. Her company is leveraged, drowning in debt. She sees your fortune as her salvation. But legally, she has no claim. The trust is ironclad." That evening, I tried to distract myself. I ordered room service, sat by the window, and watched the city below. People walked with purpose, carrying briefcases, sipping coffee, living ordinary lives. I envied them. My life had become a battlefield of lawyers, accusations, and suspicion. The phone buzzed again. This time it was a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Marcus." Marissa's voice was sharp, but beneath it was desperation. "Listen to me. We built a life together. 20 years. You can't just erase that. You owe me." "I don't owe you anything," I said quietly. "You ended our marriage. You threw me out. You made your choice." Her tone shifted, softer but manipulative. "Think about what people will say. Do you really want to be remembered as the man who hoarded millions while his ex-wife struggled? Share it with me. Just a portion. We can avoid the courts. Avoid the scandal." I closed my eyes. "Marissa, this money was never ours. It was my father's gift to me. He structured it so no spouse could touch it. He knew what he was doing." Her voice rose again, sharp and bitter. "Your father always hated me. He wanted to control you, even from the grave, but I won't let him win. I'll fight you until you break." I hung up. My hands shook as I set the phone down. Jonathan called soon after. "Marcus, she's trying to manipulate you emotionally. Don't let her. Remember, you have the power here. You can fight back if you choose." I thought about the documents Jonathan had shown me. The detailed plan for dismantling Marissa's company, buying out her debts, leaving her with nothing. The temptation was strong. Revenge whispered in my ear, promising satisfaction. But then I thought about my father. A man who had millions accumulating in a bank but chose to live humbly, fixing pipes for neighbors, walking in patched boots, never touching the fortune meant for me. He had sacrificed comfort so I could have freedom. Freedom wasn't about revenge. It was about choice. That night I made a decision. I would not destroy Marissa. I would not let her drag me into her bitterness. Instead, I would focus on building something meaningful. Jonathan supported me. "Then let's move forward with the foundation. Let's make new horizons real." We worked late into the night, drafting plans, contacting advisors, setting up accounts. For the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of purpose. But just as hope began to take root, another call came. This time, it wasn't Marissa. It was Stephen. My brother's voice was cold. "Marcus, if you don't share that money, I'll see you in court. You think you can cut me out? You're wrong." I hung up, my chest heavy. My ex-wife wanted to ruin me, my brother wanted to shame me. And all I had was the memory of my father's sacrifice and the fragile hope of building something better. I thought the lawsuits and threats would break me, but instead they led me to the one choice that defined my future. The lawsuits came quickly. Marissa filed 3 separate claims, each one arguing a different angle. My brother Stephen hired his own lawyer, insisting our father hadn't been of sound mind when he created the trust. Even distant cousins I barely remembered sent letters demanding their share. Jonathan Reeves handled each case with precision. "Marcus," he said one morning as sunlight streamed into his office, "none of these claims will hold. The trust is airtight. But they will keep trying because desperation makes people reckless. I nodded, weary but resolute. Then let them try. I won't let them take away what my father intended. Weeks passed. The noise of lawsuits, phone calls, and accusations swirled around me. But inside I felt a growing calm. I had made my choice. I wasn't going to waste my life chasing revenge or fighting endless battles. I was going to build something that mattered. The foundation, New Horizons, became my focus. We secured funding, hired a small team, and began designing programs to help men and women abandoned after divorce. Temporary housing, legal assistance, job training, all the things I had wished for when I stood outside my home with one suitcase and $45 in my wallet. The first time I walked into the office of New Horizons, sunlight pouring through the windows, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. This was what my father had wanted. Not wealth for its own sake, but freedom. The freedom to choose a life of meaning. Marissa's lawsuits collapsed one by one. Judges dismissed them, citing the ironclad structure of the trust. Stephen's lawyer withdrew after realizing there was no case. The cousins faded back into silence when they realized they had no leverage. One afternoon, Jonathan sat across from me with a rare smile. "Marcus, it's over. You're free." I thought about those words, free. My father had lived humbly, fixing pipes and sweeping hallways, all while millions accumulated in a bank. He had sacrificed comfort so I could stand here, 52 years old, with the chance to live differently. I walked out of Jonathan's office into the daylight. The city bustled around me, people rushing to meetings, children laughing in the park, vendors calling out their wares. For the first time, I didn't feel invisible. I felt alive. Marissa had tried to break me, Stephen had tried to shame me, the world had tried to pull me apart, but my father's gift had given me more than money. It had given me choice. I chose not to destroy Marissa, even though I could have. I chose not to fight Stephen endlessly. I chose to build New Horizons, to help others who had been left with nothing. And in that choice, I found something greater than revenge. I found purpose. Now, when I walk into the Foundation's office and see the faces of men and women starting over, I think of my father. I think of his patched boots, his quiet strength, his sacrifice, and I whisper a silent thank you. Because in the end, freedom isn't about wealth. It's about deciding who you will become when the world tries to break you. And I chose to become someone who helps others rise again. And if you've been listening this far, subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments what time it is where you're watching from. It helps more than you know.